What's up, guys? Hope that you're all doing well today. I'm reading this book by this guy named Rob Bell, and if you're a Christian, you might turn off this video right about now, because Rob Bell is one of those guys that has made a lot of church people upset. He was a pastor of a church out in Michigan that had over 10,000 people in attendance. And he's a well-known speaker and author, and he wrote this book called Love Wins, where he basically questioned the whole Christian tradition of hell and God's judgment, and that threw church people into a bit of a tizzy. And I like that kind of stuff because it challenges the norm, but that's not what this book is about. But this book is written by Rob Bell, and it's called What We Talk About When We Talk About God. And the book is just really rocking my world a little bit, because he opens up the book and he talks a lot about science. And I want to share something with you just really quick that he says, because it really just made me think a little bit differently about God. He's talking about all this scientific stuff. A whole lot of it that I really don't understand, is way above my head. But real quick, he talks about light, like sunlight, right? And he says that when you're looking in a store window, you can see inside that store, right? Like if you're looking in like a clothing store, you can see the clothes inside, but at the same time, you can also see your reflection in the window. And he says that that's because some of those sunlight rays, some of those particles go through the window, and some of them reflect off of the window. And he said the interesting thing is that science has no explanation as to why that happens. We just know that for some reason it does, right? He talks about atoms and particles, and he says that science has proven that atoms can be in one place in a room and then reappear in another place in that same room without traveling the distance between the two spaces. Again, science can explain that, can prove that, but has no idea why. We don't have an answer for why that kind of stuff happens. And he says in his book that in the same way, he says God is kind of like the light from the sun. And God is kind of like those atoms and those particles. We can feel him, we can see him at work in the world, but we can't necessarily prove that he exists. But the essence that we can't prove that he exists, that doesn't mean that he doesn't, right? Just because I can't explain why sunlight goes through a window or might bounce off of a window, doesn't mean that the sunlight doesn't exist, right? In the same way, just because I can't explain God and explain how he exists and why he exists, that doesn't mean that he doesn't exist, right? And in the same way, just because I can't explain how an atom can be here in my kitchen now and then reappear in the bedroom later without traveling the time in between, that doesn't make any sense to me, but it doesn't mean that doesn't happen, right? In the same way, just because I can't explain how or why or where God is working doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. So I don't know why I wanted to share that. I think maybe I just wanted to kind of walk myself through this a little bit, because I read this a couple of times just to try to understand it, and I think it's pretty cool. If you have some time to check out the book, do that. It's called What We Talk About When We Talk About God by Rob Bell. It's a good read. I'm on page 80. I'll probably write about it on my blog as well. But hope that helps you out a little bit. Hope it makes you think. Check out my blog today, morningencouragement.com. It is Guest Blogger Week. I got my friend Robert Kafin on today, and my buddy Rob Schwing yesterday, so check it out. Let me know what you think, and talk to you later. Bye.